All right, recording. All right, here we go.
It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
Unafeared here and Declare Your Independence. It's Wednesday. James Corbett from Japan. TheCorbettReport.com. I enjoy doing these. We get learnified really fast. We're going to make it real quick. Yeah, go at 7. Or, I'm sorry, at top of the hour. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to put you up. You got to go at top of the hour, do a half-hour thing?
No, we can go.
You can go. Okay. We'll try and get it in quick. You know, you got a life and so on. But I definitely want to check in with James as often as possible. What's going on in the markets now and the interest rates? And so we're trying to understand this, and we understand a new language now. We have a lot more that we kind of get a beat on than what slapped us upside the head in 08 and 09. And it looks like what they've done back then. They're even calling it the same thing a lot of times, and it's going to be a lot worse this time. I'm of the opinion that pensions are gone. This is where you're going to see the rubber meets the road when everybody goes, hey, man, I did all this baby booming. It's time to retire, and it's gone, or inflation will hit. Now, there's an article that James Corbett did called The Ratings Game, How the Banking Mafia Operates. Now, this is short, sweet, hard to beat, but it came after the revelations that he had with Catherine Fitz on finances. Now, tomorrow I interview the Department of Public Instruction here in Arizona between 15 and 18, Diane Douglas, that is speaking at our vaccineeducationsummit.com. And it's the same kind of thing. It was the finances and doing it on a state level and so on. And then you're a target. So now let's talk about the ratings and how that's done. And full disclosure, my brother-in-law is a VP senior whatever at Moody's. So we have interesting conversations. Now, tell me about the rating agencies, who they are, and their role, and someone that hasn't watched The Big Short or something. James Corbett, go.
All right. Well, your brother might be the person to interview.
Oh, he ain't saying nothing.
I guess not. All right.
For the same reasons that you talk about in here.
Yeah. Well, apparently he works for one of the big three. And there are the big three credit ratings agencies, Moody's, S&P, and Fitch Ratings. And those three credit rating agencies account for the overwhelming amount of the market, at least in the United States, of rating credit. So they take a given offering of credit and they will rate it. How investment worthy is this credit? And they will rank not just individual offerings by particular financial groups, but actually they'll rate the sovereign credit ratings of the U.S. Treasury, for example. So they have a pretty big role in the economy, which is kind of insane when you really look into the details of how it works. And hey, I mean, I'd be happy to talk to someone like your brother and get sorted out. Maybe I'm missing a big part of this, but
so would I.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, no.
They're based on an inherent internal conflict of interest where you would think, like, I mean, these are supposed to be neutral arbiters of whether this investment worthy credit or whether it's junk or, where does it fall on the spectrum. You would think they would be paid by some sort of third party, like maybe investors who want to know about, is this worthy? No, they're paid by the people who are offering the credit, which isn't it? And to my mind, that's an insane internal conflict of interest. Of course, hey, if you pay us enough, this will be AAA. I mean, I'm sure they have all sorts of safeguards and things in place. No, of course, we're arbiters, we're neutral, but that's not how it really works. And we see that from what happened in the 2008 meltdown, where they were, I mean, for years up to that point, they were taking these mortgage-backed security toxic sludge and rating it as AAA investment grade. This is good for your pension fund or whatever it is. And of course, who gets left holding the bag at the end of the day? It's all sorts of mom and pops all around the country and around the world, really, who have been forced into this, whether they knew it or not, whether they wanted it or not, through whatever pension fund scheme they're playing into or whatever, that invested in this garbage that melted down, as it was inevitably going to do, because the ratings agencies trusted or didn't care or were paid to look the other way, while the financial wizards said, no, trust us. Yeah, okay, we've got a lot of subprime stuff in here, but it's in tranches. And look, this top tranche is AAA. And yeah, maybe the bottom tranche isn't AAA. But of course, that scheme melted down spectacularly in 2008, and we saw the results. So the point I'm making in this article and in a previous article I wrote is that another aspect of the ratings agencies that we should look at is their ability to rate the credit of the sovereign credit of various treasuries around the world, including the United States and others.
Now, this is our article here, The Ratings Game, Rating Agencies as Weapons of Economic Warfare.
Yep.
Okay, that's what makes people need to go read that one. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And the point that's made there is, I mean, for example, if Russia isn't playing ball with the globalists in the way they want, they'll just downgrade their credit rating, making it more difficult for them to raise funds for them to do what they want to do until you play ball the way we want, and then maybe we'll put it back up again. But no, again, they're neutral arbiters. They don't play politics like that. BS. Total BS. And one very good example that I think highlighted that was something that came up in my recent conversation with Catherine Austin Fitz that we talked about last time, where she noted in one of her reports, in 2011, the S&P, only one of the big three, S&P particularly downgraded the U.S. Treasury credit rating from AAA, which is good as gold. Don't worry, they're the best promise that can possibly be
100-year bond.
Yeah, they downgraded it to AA+, which is, this is so good. It's amazing. Light comes out of their behind. It's just beautiful. They're rainbow and sunshine and lollipop, but there's a little bit of a thread hanging off of one of their sleeves if you look very closely. But they're great. They're wonderful. Invest in them. But apparently, for some reason, Washington didn't quite like that. They didn't like being said, no, you said there's a thread hanging off our sleeve. You will pay for that. And so pay they did. By the end of that month, it was August 5th that 2011 that S&P downgraded the Treasury. Within, I think, 3 weeks, the president, the CEO, the president of S&P at that time was forced out, and he resigned, of course, and was replaced by a Citibank official. Yes, the same Citibank that chose Obama's cabinet in 2008, as came out eventually in some leaked documents.
Okay, now wait. Don't glaze over that. You just sparked a memory. As part of support or some kind of deal that was made with Obama to win, to run, to something, they got to pick the cabinet. Something like that. Expand on that story a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I don't want to go off memory because it's been a while. Perhaps the most startling discovery of the WikiLeaks dump so far didn't come from the most recent emails surrounding the various Hillary scandals or John Podesta, blah, blah, blah. The email, but an email that went to President Obama's transition team. The email came from Michael Froman, a former Citibank exec, who single-handedly built the entire cabinet of what was supposed to be the Main Street president. The email in question was even sent from Froman's Citibank email address and includes a list of African-American, Latino, and Asian American candidates broken down by cabinet, deputy, and under assistant, deputy, assistant levels, plus a list of Native American, Arab, Muslim, and American, disabled American candidates, blah, blah, blah. And if you go and look through the list of what this Citibank executive was suggesting that the Barack transition team look at as, oh, possibly you could put this person in this level and this person in this level. They used almost every single one of those directly. Those are the people who got the positions. And this was before he even won the election, actually. I believe this was sent in, let's check the date on that.
As I remember, it was
October 6th.
Yeah, as I remember, it was early and there were some conditions and it was already a done deal by the time he was elected, and certainly in the transition team. And I forgot all about, I mean, it's so much corruption in so many areas. You just go, freedom good, government bad. Then it's freedom good, government bad, 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 bad. I mean, after a while, you just got to, how many bads you got to add, how many things you got to remember.
Yeah. But you're right. It is important to stop and highlight things like that for people who missed it the first time around, or people who weren't aware of such things back when this information was released, because it's all part of that picture. So yeah, the S&P guy gets muscled out, and the Citibank exec gets put in his place. But to their credit, see what I did there? Fine. S&P never upgraded, as far as I know, and it's really hard to find. There's no definitive list that you can find, but I don't believe they ever upgraded the treasury again, so they're still AA+.
Okay, let me fill in some blanks here and see if they ring true, because it's been a while since I had this focus on this. We did a lot of work on it. We went through a lot of whiteboards with the audience and going through and trying to understand how MERS got started, because my wife, Donna, is a real estate agent. So she was able to get us a lot of records for a lot of stuff, made it easy for us to find some things. And I talked to my brother-in-law, I had a candid conversation with him a decade ago. So this is like in 2009. And the reason is that we're close. I love him. His family's great. My nephews, my sister-in-law. They're awesome. So you don't want to press. And she was a editor for Newsweek, and before that for the New Republic in D.C. And then Martha Stewart. And now she's a bigwig on whatever I want to say. But the point is that. They have a philosophy that's starting to crack. There's times you get them, libertarian freedom, we're starting to see, but it was having to get past their faith in the system. So I asked them, I didn't want to know little detail, whatever. I go, the AAA rating, how did you justify it? Have you ever asked that question? You ever get an answer from anybody?
No, not a good one anyway.
Well, I mean, you know why they did it. I mean, you make it clear why, because they freaking you better, and they were told to. Yeah. But that didn't. How did they justify it? And what they did, it was kind of like the Tokyo real estate thing. Well, it's worth this because they started it and they sold it to this guy and he bought it for that. And then this group, they sold it to here and they back and forth and now it's worth the AAA because it was AAA performance over the AAA time of performance, And I'm going, like with the housing mortgage-backed securities and so on, I'm going, well, did you check the actual securities like the guy did in The Big Short? He's like, yeah, I don't believe, I'm just going to take a look. And you see they're really late and delinquent and all that kind of stuff. No, they went by what the market did. And if the banks can generate this market between each other, AAA. Now, AA plus, from my understanding as we went through this, is purchasing decisions by large pension funds like California Teachers or something like that. Right. They can't buy anything unless it's AAA rated.
Yep.
So this is why the AAA thing is so important. It's AA plus. They don't buy it.
For that, yeah. Which makes sense. I mean, in some sort of rational real world where these reflected actual reality and there were real stewards of the public trust in positions like this, it is what you would want. You wouldn't want a pension fund investing willy-nilly. You'd want it in something that isn't going to offer amazing returns, but it'll be stable and guaranteed and as good as gold and all that. Of course, that's not how this works.
One thing that they did, this was a Peter Schiff thing in 2005, I think, 5 or 6. I think it was 2005. He spoke at one of our Freedom Summits. And we have some, wealthy participants, attendees that go and, kind of see what's up. And they were like, yeah, what he said. So they started invested with him. And what he was saying, he goes, get out of the U.S. dollar, which was a good idea. And the other thing was the housing was going to go. So what they did is Peter Schiff needed, I don't quote me on it, but basically it was something like this. There was $25 million that was necessary to get at the table to be able to sell shorts. You had to do, like in The Big Short, they had to get the Brad Pitt character to get them to have access to the whatever. So Schiff was collecting money from people to get to a certain amount so that they could go ahead and do these shorts. Well, they did. When they started, the banks were going, and the shorts, they have some index, the derivative, that is the hedging for if real estate goes down, which was very cheap, $10 million or something, or $5 million to insure $100 million. So when the index started going down, it was obvious that these were going to have to pay off, or they were threatening to. So $5 million, we got $5 million on the book. We should sell this to somebody because it's never going to go down. And that's like money we could have. We could double it, sell a $5 or $10 million policy for 20, and then we're all good and it's all going to be good. Well, when it started to go, well, then it's going to pay off $100 million. Well, heck, it's worth at least 50, 60, 70. As it was going up in value, and everybody's like, woohoo, we got the short on, man, we're going to make some money. Schiff was saying, look, they don't have the money to pay it. This is AIG stuff. We got to sell. And I remember people and friends that I knew, they were like, stay in. And he finally closed it and said, no, we're taking our profit now. He was so right. Because what happened is to pay that off, AIG didn't have the money. So Goldman Sachs goes to the government and says, you need to bail out AIG so they can pay us our money. That's what happened. So these other guys that had other shorts, they were saying, well, you're grandfathered in if you're in. We're not going to let everybody, dog pile on and drive it down. But the people that are already in, you can stay in. They said that publicly. Obama comes out, yeah, you're all good. Then the broker calls. And he says, we need to, you got to sell or buy in or whatever the heck it is to clear your position. And they go, yeah, but they said it doesn't matter what they said. You need to get out. The ruling had come on down from the memo. We get you out. None of you guys can get filthy, stinking rich on we screwed up and you're not allowed. So they did because of threat. This is not a free market. And this kind of crap is going to happen again. What say you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, this is the underlying message of this and what we were talking about a couple weeks ago with the plunge protection team. I mean, everything you look at here, this is not a real free market. It is not. It is a manipulated top to bottom insider's game. If you happen to be on the inside in the club, you will get supported. But newsflash, pretty much everyone listening to this conversation is not on the inside of the club. So use that as the kind of investment advice to live by. Essentially, if you're playing their game, yeah, you might win their game now and then, and they might even let you win in order to better fleece you out. It's a big casino. And again, you are not part of the casino management group that's going to decide at the end of the day who's winning and losing.
What do you mean? So who is going to decide?
The people who are running the system, the political players. I mean, this is essentially a political game, and the political game itself is controlled by the banking game.
Okay, now, I know you hate talking about a lot of this just ouch quit it stuff. How much attention are you paying to what really happened or do you think's happened with the Ukrainian thing and Biden and Trump?
Well, I have to pay attention to it just simply because it's clogging up my news feeds. How much do I care? Very, very little. Even if
you probably know more than me then, but I have some opinions. What do you think's going on?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny how much people's partisan bickering and I'm voting for this team colors clouds their perception of reality. And a good example of that, actually, as I was watching this story playing out in the mainstream and all of this, at the same time I was watching it in the alt media or the quasi-independent media or whatever you would term it. And so, for example, I was looking at Zero Hedge's coverage of this, and they had top story, pinned links about, this is all nonsense and it's about to backfire, ha ha ha, it's all going to backfire on Biden, and the Dems are going down, they're taking the bait, blah blah blah, this is going nowhere. And then the next day, and now they're starting impeachment proceedings, and Zero Hedge is still like, oh, this is totally the wrong thing. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it seemed their disconnect from what was actually happening in reality seems to be getting larger and larger because they're taking a side. And I'm not taking a side. I'm genuinely dead serious about this. I can't care less whether it's a Coke or a Pepsi in an office, except it might be if one side or the other might push us further and farther towards anarchy quicker. I guess that's a good thing. So, I mean, if Hillary had got in and started trying to launch nukes and everybody rose up and overthrew the government, that would have been a good thing. So maybe it was better if Hillary got in. But that's my only calculus, is how much quicker will this get us to anarchy?
This is one thing. That was a sentiment that I had in the, I think it was the 96 election. It was Hillary, or maybe it was 92. Yeah, I think it was 90, early on. And by that time, I had seen what was coming and what, like you say, you need to be shocked. Got to crank up, throw the frog on the coals kind of thing. And I'm going, can we hurry up? Just vote for Clinton. Can we hurry up and get to a police state so we can leave? As I got older and I realized what that is and how draconian and how all-encompassing that will be, I'm like, damn, man, I might not want to risk that. That's way, these guys got tech now. This is, 25 years later, and, it could get dangerous.
Yeah.
So
it would have been better 25 years ago,
right?
It
would have been better back then.
It would be better now than 25 years from now. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, no, you got me there. Well, what do you think? Did you watch Trump's presentation to the UN?
I did not.
I am embarrassed to say that I did.
I did look at I've read the transcript of the UN Secretary General's State of the World address, and I am going to be writing about that in the Forecaster this weekend. I'm going to be translating it from the globalese.
Well, tell me what he said. I'm interested in that.
Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. It's all just political blather and nonsense, but I'm going to humorously translate it for English.
Trump did, I thought the speech was awesome. Now, his delivery was very Obama teleprompter-ish, but if you read the text, it was red meat for all his supporters. This was, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-individualism, pro-nation, pro-take care of your own people, pro-peace, pro-Merca, okay? I can see that it would be extremely inspirational to individuals in totalitarian socialist regimes and in other places outside of the EU. So I'm going, this has been a very inspirational positions that he's taken. And it dawned on me while he was doing it, I go, this is his campaign kickoff speech. This is it. This is where it's coming from. So his, delivery was, it's like Carter's Malaise speech. Did you ever watch that?
No, I don't think I ever did.
It's a Malaise speech. I did a thing on it one time. I need to find a file or redo what I did. It's because he gave it with so many pauses that it was kind of a pain to listen to it, And I took out the pause. I didn't change a syllable. I just took out all those pauses. It was an awesome speech. It was written, we have a crisis of confidence. He goes, all you guys are worried about what government's going to do for you. Get off your ass and do it yourself. I mean, this is Carter saying this. So I thought it was, I'm going, wow. It's whenever the press says how terrible something is, it's always on some stupid thing. And I know they're going to say the same thing about Trump. He was very wooden. Al Gore would have, been more interesting. I mean, that kind of thing. But the text of it, that was a powerful thing, which he did before. Last time I thought he had kind of a powerful thing too. But he's referencing a lot of the stuff that's going on. The one thing that I don't remember that he did was sending troops to Saudi Arabia. He didn't talk about that. So you got any thoughts on that one?
It's not good. It's not a good thing for every possible reason. Even if we were just to go at the surface level of just the basic propaganda construct that we've been fed. I mean, what was Osama and Al-Qaeda's whole reason for being against the United States, or a big part of it? Because you're in Saudi Arabia. I mean, so, I mean...
It's like they want to do it again.
Retail. Yeah, let's ramp that up. Because there are real religious zealots out there that really do.
Yeah, created by Wasabi, CIA, doing whatever. There's a BBC did a thing called The Power of Nightmares. Have you seen that?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, The Power of Nightmares. I'll explain a lot of this, just generated stuff. It came out in the news that Turkey, in retrospect, they're looking back going, hey, it looks like Turkey was helping ISIS here. What's up?
Yeah.
Well, what do you know about that?
A decade late and $1 trillion short,
right.
As usual. So this is, actually, we just recorded this week's New World Next Week, me and James Evan Pilato, and we talk about this story. And essentially, my take on this is, of course, now that Turkey it's politically acceptable and in the State Department's, if not in their crosshairs, at least Erdogan and the Turkish regime is not on the ins with Washington. So it's okay to throw them under the bus. But you'll never hear about, of course, all the ammo and supplies, as well as the jihadis, were coming from Libya through Turkey and Jordan into Syria, because, that brings up Benghazi and all that stuff, and let's not open that can of worms. And of course, 18, you point one finger out, about 137 are pointing back at the U.S. So you can't talk about any of that, but eventually, after a decade or so, you can kind of go, it was Turkey a little bit too, which is just limited Hangout 101. Oh,
one thing, did you see the Soho debate that's scheduled for May of next year? You hear about this?
Oh, yep.
Bill Kristol and Scott Horton.
Yep.
I thought that was a spoof. I go, there's no way. I mean, Bill Kristol must be losing a lot of credibility or something, man. What the heck? They're bringing him off the bench.
Yeah, it is strange.
Yeah, we saw. I saw the debate between I think it's Dave Smith, he's a comedian, versus Nick Sarwark at Soho on should the Libertarian Party ever have candidates like Bill Weld and Gary Johnson again. That was the thing, and of course Nick didn't do well on that, but man, it went for lack of trying though. So I'm wondering this election cycle this time, Tulsi Gabbard. Tim Picciott, Liberty Advisor, hardcore libertarian, he goes, I sent her $25 just cause. And I'm going, yeah. They have we got all these Democrat debates. She's the most popular, people want, and she's out. Well, there's enough pressure.
Sorry, Ernie, I dozed off there for a second. Were we talking about something important? Oh, no, politics. Okay, never mind.
All right. So she's coming back in the debates.
My is controlled opposition.
I'm just there's this anti-war issue out there.
She's a military person. She won't talk anything about Israel. She supports the war on terror as a general principle. The only thing is she'll say one or two things here and there that'll throw red meat to the anti-war people. Oh, look, there's an anti-war person running for president. Let's put all our energy and time and money into her. And she lost. Oh, well.
Yeah. See, my whole thing on this, I've been very interested in seeing that, like you say with the ratings thing, anybody even says anything like this, boom, the full force of comes down. And it's only with general public opinion that you can never have an opportunity to even, see them again. So I'm wondering if, I'm not, the political animal as much as people think I am. I don't vote. I mean, I'll run, but, it's just to call BS on the system. But what activism do you think should be done? Is it voting with your money in some way, be aware, have an opinion to do what?
This is not the popular answer because no one wants to hear it, but revolution of the consciousness is the only thing that matters. It is general public opinion, as you always say, and until that changes, politics ain't going to matter a damn thing. Nothing you do in the political arena is going to change this political reality until we change the reality around the political arena, and then it has to conform.
Well, we see things like the Yellow Jackets in France, what's going on in Hong Kong, and the state's not going to go quietly away. And it's not going to be, just, how many, the vast, even majority of population in the streets. It's going to come from guns. It's going to come from force. It's going to come from, no, you can't. Until the word can't gets in there, they'll keep doing it because they can. They're sociopath. This is one thing, before I let you go, we can wrap it up on this. Sociopaths and their gravitation towards government over just the last few years, since the Hillary Trump election, it was really emphasized by Dr. Frank. He was making a big deal out of this. And you start looking at it, you read up more on it a little bit more, and you just knew you were up against something. And they don't think right. There's something wrong with these people. Yes, there is. Quit having these consolidations of power for them to take, So is that what we're up against? Or are they keeping them together with some Uba Booba religion? What are we up against? What do we have to defeat?
Yeah, we have to defeat the team rallying, which is extremely difficult and perhaps impossible. Maybe there's no way around it in terms of human conditioning. People are going to rally around a team. But, it's incomprehensible to someone who steps 1 foot outside the system and takes a look at it and goes, wait, so your biggest fear, the thing that you fear most, is that all the powers that you spent all that time and energy advocating for your guy to have is going to go to the other guy. And what is the solution to that? Oh, keep voting and vote harder next time and make sure that the other guy never gets in because, God, no, if somebody else gets this power, it'll be horrible. Only we can hold the ring. Until people see the inherent stupidity of that. But even if they do see the inherent stupidity of that, so many people will still go, well, what are you going to do? It would be better. If Hillary got in, it would be the end of the world. So we got to go for Trump. It just goes on and on forever and ever.
I'm like, can we hurry up and get to a police state so we can leave? But you got to know what that really means. And
it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty, but it's not going to be pretty any way you slice it. And boiling the frog slowly is going to be worse in the long run because that's how it will really happen. It's if they turn up the heat too quickly that things can change, and it will not be pretty when the heat goes up. People will die. It will not be fun. But if we just sit here and slowly boil to death, we all going to be in the prison.
I'm gonna get you pissed off at me. Here we go. You ready? We have the Vaccine Education Summit this Saturday. We've been getting, some local press and everything, and they're up in arms, and they're just, and I did bring it on, man. I knew this conversation was coming. That was the whole point. There will be several legislators there. The other activists that I'm working with on this, I go, look, they don't get to talk. If they want to talk, they got to stand in front of the vaccine sign and say they're here, and then they may be able to say something. But no, they're here to listen. I don't give a crap what they say anyway. Well, you got to be nice. I go, no, you got it. I ain't got nothing. Well, one of the legislators that I know, and we have a connection. They're not as bad, whatever, but wants to meet with me. I want to be meeting with them Friday morning, and. What shall I say? I know what I'm going to say, and I'm going to take the right side of my right foot, put it up against the right side of your head, and there's nothing you guys can do about it. We're going to do this and this and this. You guys better get your crap straight, or here it comes and bring in the pain. What would you think I should say? Or should I even meet with them?
You're going to have to run that one by me again.
What should I say to these legislators? I have an opportunity to, make my point. To have some impact, to, get some scuttlebutt going, rumor, right. Or should I even meet with them?
Well, say what you can, say what you believe, and stand by it. And it's not a waste of time to try to convince people of something. Don't hold your breath for anything to happen politically.
No, I know better.
But
see, that's one thing. I never try and convince them. I just tell them what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it. Just lay the chips out as it is. Yeah.
So this is, I've been doing this a long time, and it's kind of, I learned the most. It was the Speaker of the House here in Arizona. We had a history of ouch quit it and back and forth, and he doesn't love me anymore. But I went in with some big giant thing. It was, out of balance by the corrupt as hell, filed lawsuit, Supreme Court, constitutional issue on unbalanced budget by the tune of a couple $100 million. It's just ridiculous. And he goes, Ernie, I can't help you. Why? He goes, because nobody cares. And I go, well, but they are doing an illegal. He goes, but nobody cares. I can't help you. Nobody cares. I go, okay, I got it. So I went off to help make them care. Now it got paid off, and then Napolitano came back and did it again. So, so we sued again, and they said, well, we can do it because we're the government. But the point is that it is general public opinion. And it's only these guys that are worried about them getting reelected or something. I'm not there are better people. They're not as sociopathic, but I tell you, it built up until about 10. It started to turn a little bit, but it's starting to go back the other way when we're in prosperity. And now when the economics hit again, it's going to be a deluge, I don't know, in 22 or something to try and it's ouch, quit it, back and forth. Are we ratcheting to death, or are we de-ratcheting any at all, do you think?
I don't see the de-ratcheting. I think it ratchets until it reaches the breaking point. And as you say, we don't want to see that breaking point because it isn't pretty. And it's, and we are getting to that point. As I've talked about on the program for years, we're getting to that point where the possibility of actually achieving an actual revolution is disappearing. Technologically, we are stepping into an era where they're going to start changing what it means to be a human being. And how do you combat that once they get to that level? Are we at that level? I mean, here's another story we're covering on New World Next Week this week. The GM mosquitoes that they released into the environment in some sort of mad test. Don't worry, guys. These have
Brazil, yeah.
Yeah, they have suicide genes, essentially. They're all going to die, so they're not going to mate with the local population. This is not going to get into the local Oh, wait, it got into the local population. Oops.
Now we have genetically modified mosquitoes.
Yeah, exactly. This is the kind of thing that they're admitting to, and that's on the record. What do you think the military is doing behind the scenes? And I mean,
I need to check this room. When I lived in Florida till I was 12, I'm originally from Florida, and they had every season they had what they call love bugs. And I don't even know if they exist anymore. I'm sure they do, but they mated, and you just get like 2 of them at a time, and they would just cake your windshield. They were everywhere for I don't know however many weeks. And I remember them telling me that they were created to be or brought in to be mosquito eaters, and it didn't quite work out. So I'm just going, and whenever we mess, here in Arizona, you have this African sagebrush thing they thought would be more hardy grass for cattle, but what it did when it rained, it grew up so high when there was a fire, it would burn the saguaros. So the saguaros here around the base, a lot of them have charred bases on them, and most of them still survive, but it's from anytime you introduce some other bug, and God forbid you change the genetics of it, we have no idea what's going to happen. There's some pandemic, a pan disaster, a pan of something coming, and Elon's like, I'm in Mars.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd like to be there too, to be honest. Honestly, we are in an end game of sorts because these technologies are not like what has come before. And our natural inclination as poo-pooers and skeptics is to say, people have talked about that before. I really think technologically we are reaching a point where we can truly change the actual environment itself and ultimately destroy the earth. And this isn't, carbon dioxide is going to kill us all in 2100 nonsense. This is real environmental emergency, which is precisely why you do not see it every night on the nightly news, why you do not see it trumped on the front page of the New York Times. Oh my God, climate catastrophe emergency. No, this is the silent emergency that's going on right now. And that's precisely why they don't want you to know about it.
I'm thinking that the end game is going to be, it's going to be interesting. And it's those that have prepared themselves just the last, it's like, you have 2 guys in the woods, here comes the bear, and he goes, oh, you can't outrun a bear. He goes, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you, So this is what I think is going to happen. It's probably, if it's not going to correct itself dramatically within 2 years, somebody else needs to be taken down, okay? I would be shocked if it went more than 6 months without people just finding alternative systems, creating their own communities, going local, growing their own stuff, taking care of business, because that's what humans do, unless somebody gets in their way. And I'm going, and if they can't get enough people to do it, like they have people, they can't always count on people, they're going to use Terminator robots. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's coming. Did you see the latest Boston Dynamics video?
Scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
They keep getting scarier all the time. There is a Boston Dynamic Atlas, the one, kind of the guy. He's doing backflips and rolls, and it's just his body movements was so human-like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that chasing me.
I wonder if people in the military are looking at that technology.
Oh,
they'd never authorize that. So just imagine that coming after you, loaded with whatever type of weaponry it will have.
Well, do you kid?
Fedor the robot?
I'm sorry?
Did you see Fedor the Russian robot? They sent it
Oh,
up to
yeah, it has
space.
guns. They didn't pretend. They put guns on that thing.
Guns, it's driving around, and they sent it up to the space station to do some PR, but they did surprisingly little.
Okay,
PR.
wait. That was the same robot that they gave guns to?
Yeah. Well, the same type of robot.
That is to be interesting.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm. We scared people enough. What's the ray of hope? Let's leave it on. Those good things.
We should leave this on the ray of hope because honestly, why are we even sitting here talking if it's all doom and gloom? No, I think the ray of hope is the weeds will continue to grow through the pavement and life will always find a way. Blah blah blah. So insert your metaphor here, but you're right. In the end of the day, people will do what they do, which is to find a way to live and survive and thrive. But the key to that will be community. Do not think you are going to be the lone person out there as an island in this wilderness that's going to survive bugs and rainwater by yourself for 18 years. And who would want that anyway? That isn't humanity winning. In the end, it is going to be community. We are in a very difficult bind because it is harder and harder to meet people in real physical meet space. And unfortunately, all the weapons of social media have been weaponized against us to prevent us from coming together. So
people are watching TV less. People are spending less time on Netflix. People are spending more time family in my circles. People are starting to actually meet people or join a soccer team or they're starting to extract themselves from all of this and creating, they strive, they need community. And those that are left online being paid as trolls or whatever, I don't know what happens to them, but they don't want to be ignored and they try not to be irrelevant, but if nobody's looking, the tree didn't make any noise. So I'm not that doom and gloomy. I mean, I'm pretty optimistic. I knew, freedom, we're one day closer. That doesn't mean it's not going to get worse, but we're one day closer because at the end of this, it's the way the cycle is, that's why they call it revolution, it comes back. You just need to be able to be ready enough that you survive the troubles so that you're here to help rebuild after. And it's going to be a rebuild as much philosophically and in our minds and our attitudes as it is actually physical. And we got enormous infrastructure in America. I mean, it's going to really take a lot to, there's not some nice place to go live. But we just got to get our mind right.
It's the mindset. It's 100% the mindset.
TheCorbettReport.com. Anything else, James?
Let's leave it there for now. Actually, let's leave it on an even happier note. I'm about to come out with my annual Truth Music episode, so people who want to turn off the 24/7 news cycle for just a little while and listen to some music. With the message.
Thank you, James. It's always great talking to you, man. TheCorbettReport.com. Peace, brother.
Take care.